Have you ever tried to relax and felt something in you not quite let it happen? Everything slows down. No tasks, no noise, no urgency, no one needing anything from you. For a moment, it almost feels like relief. Your body softens, just slightly. Your attention loosens. There is space. And then, quietly, something shifts. A subtle discomfort appears, not strong enough to alarm you, but enough to interrupt the moment, enough to keep you from settling all the way into it. So, instead of staying there, you move. You reach for something. Your phone, a thought, a distraction. And just like that, the moment closes. It happens so quickly, it barely feels like a decision, almost like something in you moved before you noticed. But if you stay just a little longer, if you don't move right away, you begin to notice something. It's not that you don't want to relax. It's that stopping brings you closer to something you don't usually stay with. And that closeness feels unfamiliar because when you're busy, your attention is always moving outward. There is always something to respond to, something to follow, something to manage, something to think about. And that constant movement creates distance from whatever is happening inside you. But when everything stops, that distance disappears. And slowly, your attention turns inward. Not all at once, just enough to feel it. And what you meet there is not always clear. It doesn't come as defined thoughts or obvious emotions. It's quieter than that. A subtle tension, a feeling without a name, something unfinished, something unresolved, but still present. Nothing overwhelming, but not entirely comfortable either. And without distraction, it doesn't fade. It stays. Not louder, just closer. And that closeness can feel unfamiliar, almost like sitting with something you've been passing by for a long time. Something that was always there, but never stayed long enough to be fully noticed. So instead of staying with it, you shift, not deliberately, just enough to create distance again. You open something. You think about something. You redirect your attention, and the discomfort softens. Not because it resolved, but because you have stepped away from it. And over time, this movement becomes automatic. So automatic that you don't experience it as avoidance. You experience it as difficulty relaxing. But the difficulty is not in relaxing. It's in staying. In remaining present without turning away. Because when nothing is happening outside, there is nothing between you and what you feel inside. And for many people, that space feels uncertain, not threatening, but undefined. And the mind doesn't stay easily in what is undefined. It looks for direction, for movement, for something to engage with. So it creates something, a thought, a plan, a small distraction, anything to step out of that still point. And that's why relaxing can feel uncomfortable. Not because rest is wrong, but because stillness removes the distance you're used to having. And without that distance, you come closer to what has been there all along. And that meeting is not always easy, because it asks you to remain without immediately leaving, without filling the space, without softening it, without replacing it with something easier, just staying there long enough to feel what is actually present. And for most people, that is where the discomfort lives, not in relaxation itself, but in the contact that comes with it. And the shift doesn't come from trying to relax better. It begins when you start noticing what you move away from, what appears right before you reach for something else, what shows up in that brief space between stopping and leaving, because that space is where the pattern reveals itself. And if you stay there just a little longer, something begins to change. What once felt unclear starts to become visible. What once felt uncomfortable starts to feel understandable. And slowly, that space becomes less unfamiliar. Not because it disappeared, but because you stayed. And over time, being with yourself without distraction starts to feel different. Less tense, less urgent, less like something you need to escape from. And eventually, it begins to feel like rest. Not because nothing is there, but because you're no longer moving away from it. So, if relaxing feels uncomfortable, it may not be a problem to fix. It may be a sign that when everything stops, you finally get close to something real. And maybe the goal is not to relax perfectly, but to stay just long enough to realize you don't need to leave. And that what you were avoiding was never something to fear. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing, because sometimes the moment you stop escaping is the moment things begin to settle.